Back here in the Weather Center, continuing our coverage. We lost our internet here, our different feeds for a moment, as we had quite a lightning strike here. Some of our monitors even went off. We have backup systems, and we're back with you now, but just a crazy lightning strike, and that's indicative of what can happen as we have some new warnings to tell you about now. So we'll broaden the view back out. Several warnings still. That dangerous cloud to ground light, and that strike was very close to where we were at. We're lucky. It doesn't look like we had any damage here in the Weather Center, but we lost that for a moment there, and we lost our feed. Had to reset everything. So we're back with you though as we're continuing our severe weather coverage. These dangerous storms, one of the more dangerous summer afternoons here that we're going to have in meteorological summer. I know technically not semi-summer, but you get the idea here with these summertime type storms though in this meteorological summer type period. A new warning now for northern Jefferson as well as it looks like parts of Madison, southwestern Lands, and southeastern Brooks until 6 o'clock. At 4:43, severe thunderstorms located along a line extending from 10 miles west of Lake Park to 7 miles southwest of Monticello, moving east at about 20 miles an hour. So we're talking about 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts and penny-sized hail toward Monticello, Madison, Lake Park, Greenville, Lee, Ebb, Lamont, Hamburg, Panetta, as well as Nash, Drifton, Lovett, even over toward Clyattville, Wakena, Hanson, Sermons, Mosley, Hall, and Hopewell. And as we look here, another warning just popping up since we've been off here, since we had the lightning. I mean, it knocked some of our different things. Our internet's on a backup system. It still knocked that off, though, just because it was so close here to where we were at. So I don't have the chat right now, so I'm just kind of seeing these warnings here on our other system. I'll get that back up here in a moment. But this is a warning here that we're talking about toward Nassau, Baker, Charlton, till 5 at 4:33. Severe thunderstorm located 7 miles southwest of St. George or 20 miles west of Callahan, moving southeast at about 15 miles an hour. So dangerous storm there. As we're looking here though back toward Bradford, I mean that lightning's even more focused to the south. I mean we haven't even gotten that much rain. We've only got 2/100ths of an inch where I'm at. As you see another new warning popping up toward the south, but more and more nasty weather is down toward Keystone. So something for those folks to bear in mind. We don't even have to have that much rain to get a dangerous strike like that. I mean it's the lightest one we've had here maybe in 5 or 10 years where I'm at. So since we've been doing this live coverage over the last year and a half, we haven't had any lightning strike like that since we've been on the air. So anyway, back here with the new warning now for southeastern Bradford, northwestern Alachua, northwestern Putnam, and southwestern Clay until 5:30. At 4:45, it's every thunderstorm is located over Orange Heights or near Melrose, moving east at about 15 miles an hour, so 60-mile-per-hour gust here. As well as quarter-size hail. We're talking about Interlochen, Keystone Heights, Melrose Landing, Orange Heights, Lake Geneva, Flora Home, Waldo, Putnam Hall, and Manville. So again, watching that area down toward the south. You see the hail indicator there on the screen, that warning icon. So indicative maybe of some hail, but also just the overall intensity of the storm there being pretty high, as well with the damaging winds with that hail in that vicinity. So many different areas here to watch. 6 different warnings in our area at the present time. So keeping you up to date here. Again, we're back with you after that lightning strike in our area. We've been over different platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, to keep you and your family safe, as we're now getting even a stronger hail indication over Orange Heights. So goodness, as bad as that lightning strike was where I'm at, we haven't had that much rain. And you see Orange Heights here, though, quite a bit of lightning around there, and that means more potential for damage, as you see here, the 1 potential and a hail icon now, so maybe upwards of 2 inches in diameter of hail. But I preface that with saying this probably is overestimating things, but a quarter-size hail is a pretty sure bet, I think, around Orange Heights right now, based on what I'm seeing on our other system as well. So something to bear in mind. Be interesting to see if we get a report out of that area, as they're getting some pretty nasty weather down that way. We'll go ahead and go back up toward the north now. We're continuing to look at our different tools. Luckily, Stark, the accent's kind of weakened on out a little bit. I mean, it's kind of went around Stark, as you see. We've been between different radars, but Stark, despite that lightning strike where I'm at, we've gotten pretty lucky. But toward the south, goodness, a lot of lightning there, cloud to ground lightning. Really dangerous weather there toward the south. A lot of wind energy as well. So just bearing that in mind. Just bear that in mind here, folks. Everything that's happening You kind of get the idea here what's going on. I mean, these rainfall rates over the last hour are pretty high as well. Some spots in western Bradford over 2 inches south of the New River east of Worthington Springs, north of Brooker, and then just northwest of Waldo there, around northeast 177th place, around 3 inches in the last hour. So torrential rainfall occurring with these storms. We'll go ahead and go back up to the north here. You see right around the state line, several warnings in play there. And again, I don't have chat right now, so some of these warnings are just popping up here, folks. And new one for Suwanee, Hamilton, and Eccles until about 5:30. So just seeing these kind of on the screen as you see them. So I need to reset our chat session here. So what I'm going to do, just bear with me. We're back in about, it's 4:49. We're back here within 5 minutes or so. As I go ahead and do that, make sure we get that connection with the weather service back. As we have several warnings on the board here. Real quick, I'll try to run them down for you. If you're just tuning in, if you're in one of these yellow polygons, you got to be really careful. And if you hear that thunder, you got to be really careful as well. Warning, you see that 4:15 to 5 for northeastern Bradford, northwestern Putnam, as well as Clay, Duval. They're talking about a line extending from 6 miles southwest of Maxfield and a Keystone moving east of 15. We're also talking about the warning towards dark until 5. Seeing some of the worst of the storm is to the south of Stark, though. Warning until 5:30 for southeastern Bradford, northeastern Lotchwood, northwestern Putnam, southwestern Clay. And again, these warnings in general are for 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts and quarter-size hail, but you have to watch out for that lightning. There's heavy downpours here this afternoon, even outside of severe storms. A warning for Nassau, Baker, Charlton, parts of those counties till 5. Warning for parts of Baker, Columbia, Hamilton, Eccles, Clinton, Charlton till 5:30. Suwanee, Hamilton, Eccles till 5:30, as well as parts of Jefferson, Madison, Lowndes, and Brooks until 6. So we're back here by 4:55 with more information as we go ahead and get some more details here into the weather centers. We're watching a dangerous afternoon of storms across the area. Back with you here at 4:55, continuing to watch things within the Doppler radar technology. We still have numerous warnings on the board, and we just added another one here in the last few seconds for parts of Nassau County. It's going till 5:30, so just a lot of warnings. Hard to just explain it. I mean, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think it is 8 warnings on the board here, folks. You kind of see what we're talking about. Bunch near the state line, a few cluster down here near Bradford, Clay, Alachua counties, Putnam involved as well here, a little bit of Duval, you get the idea, Union, but again, we're watching things very carefully here with the storminess. It looks like they're around Orange Heights. They're really getting hammered right now in toward northeastern Alachua County. That warning goes until about 5:30. Watching that accident very carefully there. Watching the storms up toward the north here. Parts of Baker County getting into some of this. It's hard to see some of this on the overall view, so we'll go back over to our other view of the Doppler radar here in just a moment. I'm still watching things. You hear that thunder in the background, I would think, at least a little bit if you listen real close. But again, we're going to go back on over toward our GR level 3 computer. You'll be able to see a new warning for parts of Nassau. Things are just going up quickly there. This is a warning for areas around Hilliard with a storm moving southeast at about 15. Roy to the south of Hilliard probably at this point, moving more toward Callahan there in that vicinity. You have a warning here towards southern part of it. Looks like Charlton County involved here. Talking about Taylor, McClinney, Glen St. Mary's under this one. I see looking off toward areas here to west under a warning as we're getting here further in toward parts of Baker County. You see parts of Hamilton County. We're getting some nasty weather there. We're looking off the Jacksonville radar at this point here, even off toward the west. But you still see some of that wind energy showing up out toward areas further toward the Big Bend. Getting some new reports in now. A couple new reports actually. Go ahead and go back on over here toward North Central Florida. Peace-sized hail reported by amateur radio at Lake Asbury there at about 4:54. And then McAlpin 911 call center reported a tree down there near the intersection. It looks like of near the intersection there of we just lost it on our screen here, 180th Street and 89th Road. So again, watching things carefully here. Let me go ahead and kind of reset something in the chat once again. But so there it is, a report coming on in this afternoon. So many different things happening here. I mean, it's been a while since we've had this many warnings here popping up this quickly, folks. We're trying to stay on top of it the best we can. We're at 4:58 now on the clock. We talked about it yesterday morning, folks. I highlighted the potential for potent storms today, and that's what we're seeing. This is the busiest severe day we've had in the word as meteorological summertime period so far, and it may end up being the busiest we'll have all meteorological summer. So again, continuing to track things. We've had that lightning around. We're really seeing the wind potential pick up now. And Alachua County, you see that on Storm Relative. That's a little concerning there. Seeing that wind enhancement there, getting closer toward Orange Heights is again, they're getting hammered there. Don't want to be on area roads like State Road 24 or 301 in this area. Just got to be really careful about doing that, or upscale growth showing up with the red there. So a nasty situation in that vicinity. You're looking toward Clay County, the St. Johns River. Getting into some of the storminess there, you kind of get the idea of what's going on in that area. Again, toward the state line, there's several warnings. I mean, it's almost just, there's so many different things to talk about. You almost don't have time to talk about all of them, or it's almost as if you don't have time to talk about any of them because there's just so many different things. But I think that storm on Orange Heights is the worst right now. It's the one that kind of stands out here on the screen. So we'll go back in there again, I think. We'll go back into that area and see what's happening down toward Orange Heights. That storm concerns me a little bit more than the others based on what I'm seeing within the radar echoes. So let me go ahead and go back on over to your Earth computer. You'll be able to see what we're talking about there. That lightning right around Orange Heights. You also see up toward Waldo as well here with some of this, making for a pretty stormy day. Up toward the state line, some of these storms in play as well. Getting here toward Madison, you see here around Greenville. We'll go ahead and put our hail tracker on. You see some of that in this vicinity. You see up toward parts of Columbia County, Baker County again. storm in Nassau. Not all that impressive, but you can still get severe characteristics reaching the surface for a short period of time. And we're going to go over to our storm relative again. This storm, I mean, the other storms look marginally severe, and it kind of depends on what radar you're looking from. So still, if you're under a warning, take it seriously, even without being under a warning. If you had that lightning around, as we had just a little while ago, we actually had a warning where I'm at, but that storminess really kind of passed us by pretty much. That lightning was just ferocious around one strike in particular knocked us off for a few minutes there. We had to get things reset in the weather center. We have backups, folks, so that's why we didn't have necessarily any damage. It didn't look like to our equipment. We were able to get back on pretty quick, but even though we have things on our backup system, still knocked our internet off here, knocking some different things off. But we're back with you now here, folks, in the weather center. Let's go over to DR level 3, tracking things east of Gainesville. You see, this is a strong wind signature. I would be surprised if we weren't having some wind damage here take place in the Fairbanks area right now. We're getting here near Northeast 69th Avenue, getting in toward some of that, those communities there. Look toward Orange Heights. You see some of this. See some of this potential here. I know this is the 4th day in a row we've had severe weather coverage to provide you, and today by far the most widespread day of severe weather around. Luckily, some of this wind damage doesn't look quite as focused on the radar as what we saw the other day, and as I say that, though, that concerns me down toward Fairbanks here. This is getting closer here toward Gainesville, folks. Looking really close in toward Gainesville. In fact, I want to put some other information on here, folks, for you here as we're trying to load some information into our system, because I think we're getting close to Gainesville Airport, and we're getting close to Gainesville Airport. I'd be interested to see what wind gusts we get out toward Gainesville Airport over the next little bit. This 18-mile-an-hour reading was from about, it looks like 1653, so if we do that, it's 453 here we're talking about, but I would be surprised if this didn't go up quite a bit here in the next update. So you kind of see that slipping on down there. It did go down between updates before, but you're kind of seeing some of that build back in that general direction here, folks. So that's something to watch for sure with the overall wind pattern. Luckily, we haven't had any tornado warnings today or anything that has really looked like a tornado situation yet. But we're going to continue to watch because these storms are potent, very potent. I know we had a tornado warning Sunday. We were close yesterday to having a tornado warning in Flagler, but again, watching things carefully within the radar today. Again, this is right near Gainesville Airport, so it'll be interesting to see what we're hearing out of Gainesville Airport here. I know they're not technically not under a warning, but it's pretty hazardous in that area. As a warning for Baker, Columbia, Hamilton, Charlton, Clinton, Eccles continues till 5:30 for 60-mile-an-hour winds and inch-size hail. So let's go back up that way now, watching that potential. That's a little bit more robust looking. As we go over here, the hail reports from earlier on the map. We're watching some of that. It's robust on the radar, but we are getting a hail signature on this, but the wind didn't look all that impressive at all to me. So that's some good news. But we are watching a hail signature there as we're trying to analyze things on the fly here, folks. Again, several warnings still on the board. We're down to 5 warnings, it looks like, in our area, maybe 6, I guess, because we do have parts of Franklin clipped out toward the Panhandle, and I mentioned that toward Apalachicola. You guys out there, I mean, we don't want to leave you guys out. So many things going on out that way. So let's go ahead and pop that up over on GR Earth. You see this? It's the 5th thunderstorm warning until 5:15 Eastern for parts of western Franklin, and sometimes we're not able to get to everything like we generally would because we have just so much going on, and that's where Cloud_WX on Twitter comes in handy. You're able to get those alerts instantaneously from the National Weather Service. They're really helpful, so you can kind of figure out what's going on, and then cloudweather.com/radar. I know generally not going to have issues like we did with the lightning strikes around, but when we do have those issues, or just if you're on the go over there, you're able to look at the radar and move things around, get an idea where the storms are the strongest, and kind of see how they're tracking. So that's another useful tool you have, at your disposal in your toolkit. So again, watching more information come on in. Another report of some damage from earlier off towards Swanee, 315 intersection of County Road 137 and Hogan Road. And now a report from 502 call center, 911 call center reporting multiple trees down in McCulloch County, Newport there, that vicinity. You see some of these reports on the western edge, I guess you could say, or the left edge of your screen, western areas there. We're talking about in McCulloch County with some damage there. So busy day nonetheless here in the weather center. Even if some of you guys aren't getting impacted, I mean, some of you guys are staying pretty dry, but other areas here are really being impacted. Last 12 hours, you see areas like Cross City, for instance, not getting much at all, or Palatka yet, but we're just heading up to see how things transpire here. We had that 70% chance of rain today. I know I kind of used advanced wording here for today's potential yesterday, talking about potent storms, and no doubt that's what we've seen here, folks. We've been kind of giving you this heads up here in the Weather Center, talking about the potent storm potential for today, yesterday, and the Weather Service now talking about several outflow boundaries about to convert over Duval County. So a heads up in Jacksonville now. Storms will rapidly develop over the next 30 minutes or so here, folks. So be mindful of that. Next 30 minutes or so, storms are going to rapidly develop in that area. Just got to be cognizant of that potential here, folks, toward parts of Duval County. Just seeing the nasty weather around here for sure. And that weather that hadn't really been impacting Duval County is going to be impacting them pretty soon here as we're watching the different views of the Doppler. So again, I know so many different things to talk about. Still not much rain where we're at in Stark, and the temperature has cooled to 74 degrees. So that's some good news here. Hopefully we end up getting lucky here. But there's still several more hours of storm potential left, so you just never know what can happen here as we're looking at some different things in the Weather Center, trying to give you a look at things. And that storm down toward Orange Heights, Campville, that's the worst storm. I mean, that is a clear wind signature, folks. We're looking higher up, but I do see a new warning just came down, though. So let me go ahead and see where that is. That is for, I have it on this system, so let's go ahead and take this system here, folks. We have a warning for parts of St. John's, Clay, and Duval till 5:30 now. A storm near Green Cove Springs, quickly becoming severe. In that vicinity as you hear thunder in the background. Where I'm at in Stark, and for other areas where they're getting the lightning, it's just being heard around Stark, though, as we're seeing a large corner of Green Cove Springs. So large core there now, Green Cove Springs now. Seeing that upscale growth there in that area on our ZDR product. Looking at correlation coefficient here, maybe a little bit of hail mixing in there. Hard to say, but definitely could be some there along State Road 16. Seeing that potential there. Seeing the US 301 area near Orange Heights, folks, with that wind potential. I mean, we have 43 one way, 30 through the other. This could be a downburst here of some pretty potent wind right near the Gainesville Airport. Surprised we haven't seen an update maybe come on out here as we're watching toward the west. Maybe some type of wind potential headed that way. Maybe at least a significant weather advisory out that way as seeing everything stream out. I mean, it's the busiest day we've had for severe weather maybe since April. I'm trying to think back here, folks. I don't think May 12th was this busy as we were covering things. This is a nasty day, one of the nastiest summertime days we'll ever have here. And I know it's technically not summer in some ways, but it's meteorological summer. So I just bear that in mind too when I use that. I don't kind of get confused by it's not summer in some ways, but we're going to call it that because it's meteorological summer here with these afternoon type storms. These afternoon type storms at some of their worst here today on June 15th, 2021. So again, continuing to cover it here as a one-man band, folks. So if I lose my voice a little, or we're trying to get engineering things fixed with lightning strikes, apologize, but we're doing the best we can to keep everybody protected. I know some places won't really go wall to wall for this type of threat, but I think it's important to pretty much go wall to wall in this situation as yet another new warning comes out, kind of justifying that. This is for Baker, Duval, Nassau, and Charlton until 5:45 here, folks. Let me see where that is in particular, talking about where that is on our map. So let's go over to our other view as you see that pop on up. That is for southwestern Nassau, east central Baker, west central Duval, and south central Charlton until 5:45. At 5:09, talking about 60-mile-an-hour winds, but they're so busy, folks. They made a typo in this. They put 50, but I mean that's just kind of the nature, folks. They might even reissue that. I'm not sure because there's just so much happening, folks. They're trying to get these out as quick as they can to give everybody that advance notice here that they crave, that they desire. in a situation like this, that are doing the best they can. Riceville, Baldwin, White House, Airfield here under that warning for 60-mile-an-hour winds and quarter-size hail. And we're back up to it looks like 5, 6, 7 warnings on the board here, folks. 7 different severe thunderstorm warnings and 8 if you count the one in our far western zone. I kind of keep leaving you guys out in Apalachicola, but that's to be off the coast here, that threat pretty soon, luckily. But that's 8 different warnings in our area. So still watching things as we just saw one of them canceled, so we're back down. It looks like no, okay, that's just a cancellation on part of a warning, I think. Let me double check that. We had that kind of, okay, they did drop a whole warning, or did they not? Let's see. I think they just updated the warning, actually. I think they just updated a warning Polygon. Yeah, because there's just so much going on here, folks. Normally we're able to be a little more on top of it. But everything, I mean, this is not a squall line, folks. This is just different storms trying to evolve pretty much on their own. And it's really tricky to try to follow 7, 8 different storms here in our area at one time. So if I get a little off here, again, apologize. I think we're going to have a new warning out toward the city of Alachua pretty soon. Let me give you that heads up because that's really still up on the radar now. Let's go over here. You see south of Keystone, and they're getting a lot of lightning in Keystone. That vicinity is probably sounding pretty nasty out there. As we look toward Alachua, there you see some of that wind potential, hail potential showing up in that vicinity. So, and need probably a warning there. Again, they're doing the best they can, folks. I mean, this stuff is coming fast and furious. I saw an HRRR model yesterday morning, folks. I mean, I had not seen a model do something like that for a afternoon type situation in a while, and it was just blowing these storms up, and that's exactly what we're seeing here, folks. These storms just absolutely blowing up quickly, becoming dangerous, dangerous storms, and you just have to be weather aware on a day like this. So again, these afternoon type storms, so nasty. We're going to have more warnings soon. Let's go ahead and check power outage numbers now. Checking that information here in the Weather Center. Again, we're still on the air with you, keeping everybody safe, continuing our coverage. New warning now for Nassau and Camden County. Nassau and Camden counties until 6 o'clock. So that wind is coming down for 60-mile-an-hour winds and inside hail. So just everything hidden. Hear more thunder in the background where I'm at as well. It's hard to take a break in this type of situation here. As I'm looking at power outage numbers, it seems McCullough got hit pretty good or pretty bad, whichever way you want to look at it, unfortunately. So let's go ahead and pop up our power outage map. I'm a little surprised the numbers aren't higher than this. Some of these, though, are just marginally severe, despite the dangerous threats they do have in them, these different storms I'm talking about. You see only 62 Duval, I haven't seen too much yet, 102 Clay, 52 in Alachua, customers out of power there. But you see McCullough, 170 customers in the dark there. So definitely watching things carefully as we look. Luckily, not seeing a high concentration of outages. That surprises me a little bit as we broaden the view back out here, though. Georgia, 1,000 customers in the dark there, give or take. And some of that's in Charlton County, 205. So it looks like Charlton County over there in terms of percentage of outages, as well as McCullough County. Those are the two counties hit the hardest at the moment by the storms, which is a little surprising in some ways. But those numbers are going to continue to update as we just got another report in here. And I was wondering about Gainesville Airport, folks. I don't know if it'll be on this screen yet. Not quite on our screen yet, but we just got a report of a 46-mile-an-hour gust there from the storms well to the northeast. So our velocity kind of matching up with that, folks. I guess to 46 miles an hour at Gainesville Airport there, as that wind sowing on up in that vicinity. Seeing some of that here, seeing a little bit of a spin even on a storm that's not warned right now under Northwest 44th Avenue in Gainesville. So something to kind of keep our eyes on there. As again, a report, multiple trees down out toward McCullough County that's being corrected because needed to try to fix something in that report there. As again, these numbers here, they'll update in a moment, but again, still seeing different reports come on in to the Weather Service, into the weather office where I'm at here. Different warnings to the north, folks. You see just so many on the board. New warning 509 that was issued for parts of Duval. This is the area around Baldwin. You see some wind enhancement here. You see some of that around the Baldwin area, folks. Briceville, Baldwin, White House airfield there. I think we had another one issued since then. Let's see. Yeah, 512 Nassau and Camden. So it's this area to the north. This one issued for areas around St. Mary's, Kingsland, Fernandina Beach, Keens Bay Base, Yulee, Cumberland Island there, as well as Harriet's Bluff as well. So watching the dangerous storms there. Now, for what it's worth, tomorrow's storms are not going to be quite as potent overall as these, but still could have some isolated severe storms in a shorter time range later tomorrow. So that's something we'll watch out for. But today's storms, this might be one of the stormiest days we'll have here. I keep repeating it, but meteorological summer here, folks. Might not have many more days quite like this one with this many warnings around. We gave you that heads up yesterday to keep you safe, as we just got a new warning for Gainesville. It's that storm we were just talking about there. So let's pop that up. We'll go ahead and zoom on in to that area. Gainesville, Alachua, High Springs, University of Florida, Gainesville Airport, as well as Noonan's Lake, Rochelle, Newberry, Waldo, Grove Park under this. So Roy watching that potential in that area. You see that hail core popping on up there as we're getting there around Alachua as well. Let's go ahead and we're talking about so many different things here. I must have to try to catch your breath here as you're talking. So again, we have this warning now in play till 5:45. This is for a nasty storm there. So let's pop up our UF Weather Sim camera. We'll go on over there now. We'll go ahead and take you to that. And wow, that really tells a story here, folks, of the nastiness coming into view. This is the University of Florida here, folks, and you see the dark clouds indicative of how nasty the conditions are in that vicinity. So again, it's a thunderstorm warning now for the Gainesville area at 5:45. That warning there, I'll go ahead break that down once again. We're talking about storm there, 5:15 near Gainesville, moving east at 30 miles an hour. So a pretty dangerous storm in that vicinity. We have the storms there near Gainesville Airport overall. Seeing some of that accident build on back some there in toward that vicinity. Seeing so much happening where we're at. It looks like 3, 6, 9 warnings on the board, if I'm counting right here, folks. Looks like 9 warnings on the board now. So let's go ahead and move away from WeatherStim. We'll move away from WeatherStim here, folks. And we'll get back on over to the Doppler radar. We'll take a break here in just a moment as just need to get a little bit of a drink of water here. But again, watching things really carefully. You see 9 different warnings. The storm near Gainesville, the different storms I'm talking about near Gainesville. Pretty nasty in that vicinity. Storms near the St. Johns River. Storms near I-10, I-95. You see a storm there near St. Mary's. Hail looking a little bit higher with that. And you see maybe a downburst in that vicinity as well. Just got a report of outflow of 37 miles an hour at the airport from the storms to the west. And I think they mean, when they say airport, I mean the Jacksonville Airport here. So I've seen some of that here with storms in that vicinity. Nasty storms near Madison. We're looking up the other radar for that. Let me switch you over. We haven't gone to radar scope in a little bit. I guess since we switched, I had to switch because of lightning. But let me go ahead and switch you on over now toward here radar scope. We'll see what's happening over on that source here. And you'll be able to see some of the storms. Madison County, Hamilton County here. You see signature of some wind enhancement in that vicinity. You see some wind enhancement here northwest of Sanderson, north of Baldwin. And then we'll switch you over to Jacksonville radar for better perspective to the east here. You see some of the storms. Again, we talked about it to the north near St. Mary's, Callahan, Green Cove. And then I think, again, the worst of this looks down to the south here, Roy, getting that measurement at Gainesville Airport. Seeing some of those wind enhancement areas here on our maps. See all that copious rainfall, that cloudy ground lightning in play here. So 5:19 right now. What we're going to do is 5:19. Let me go back on over to our other source. You're seeing some of our different tools we're using. Hail, of course, parts of Gainesville, getting the wind reports there that we've been talking about here. Let me check something real quick. Ooh, we just got a higher gust at Gainesville Airport, folks. I think we just got a higher gust there. So let me double check that. That just came across the wire. make sure we get that accurate information on the air here for you. So that's a 47 knot wind gust that just came across at Gainesville Airport, folks. So that means in terms of miles an hour, we're talking about 54 miles an hour now at Gainesville Airport. So we're now seeing that on our other map, in fact. So that just came across in our other system. So let me go ahead and show you that. You see what we're talking about. It's just kind of coming across there in the last few minutes. We talked about the wind enhancement there and exactly seeing that down toward the surface in that area. So it's 5:20 now. We have so many warnings. I mean, goodness gracious. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's counting them there. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different storms, give or take, I guess you could say, capable of some damage here across our region. The highest gusts we've had today measured in toward at least north central Florida is 54. I think we had a report in Bay County is 70, but all these different reports coming in. Weather Service chat just confirming that 54 mile an hour wind gust at 5:14 in Gainesville. So it is a dangerous, dangerous evening commute. You got to try to be really careful. Gonna have some accidents, I'm sure. Probably already having some accidents being reported on the area roads. And we'll keep you ahead of everything. Be back by about 5:30 unless we need to break back in sooner. Just so many warnings on the board. Please stay safe out there. We're gonna catch our breath. Go ahead and bring you to that overview of the radar once again so you see what's going on. And I see Southern Georgia saying pretty much quiet, so I'll zoom in just a little so at least you guys get a better perspective on things as we take a quick break. back here in the Weather Center at the bottom of the hour, tracking so many different warnings. You saw another one just pop up here, folks. So much happening on the Doppler radar. We're so busy. You see off toward the west, arrow warning continues for areas around Madison County until 6 o'clock. Line there of severe weather extending from near Blue Springs to 9 miles west of Madison, moving east at 20 miles an hour. A warning here that is guided for Central Columbia, Suwannee, and Hamilton counties, and that goes until about 6 o'clock. It looks like about 5:29. The storm is extending from 8 miles northeast of Suwannee Valley to near Madison, moving southeast at 45 miles an hour. Then we have a warning here to the north, Bradford County, but it does include a little bit of Bradford County. It also includes southwestern Nassau, southern Baker, as well as northeastern Union, east central Columbia, northwestern Clay, as well as southwestern Duval until 6:15. So we're talking about McClenny, Glenthing, Marion, this here, for instance. Kind of seeing some of that as we zoom on in, and then more warnings popping up as we speak. A warning there just from a little while ago, though, continues to 5:45 for Nassau, Baker, Duval, and Charlton counties. A warning here that looks like this one just got issued here recently for central Nassau, northeastern Clay, and central Duval until 6:15. And we have a warning for St. Mary's, Nassau, Camden until 6 o'clock. Watching here storms down toward Gainesville, central Alachua till 5:45. So you get the idea here, folks. Just so many warnings on the board. We just had one go away though, but we still have 3, 5, 6 thunderstorm warnings in play. So we're not going anywhere here unless lightning strikes and knocks us off again. So I just have to kind of bear that in mind. But again, we're trying to stick with you, keep everybody safe here this afternoon, this evening. We're seeing a lot of lightning with that storminess toward Madison County. Seeing that storm pretty well at the Jacksonville radar as well. So that storm might be a little bit enhanced. So let me go ahead and check another mode of our Doppler here to make sure we're not missing anything out in that general vicinity, because there could be something down toward the surface that might be worth noting in toward that area. So let me go ahead and go on over here. Yeah, we're really seeing a wind enhancement now. So let's go over to our radar scope so you guys get an idea of what's going on there. So here's that viewpoint. You see what's going on here in the northeastern parts of Madison County, 46 miles an hour with the wind gust in that vicinity. You see some of these other areas here a little bit weaker in terms of those wind speeds, but then you maybe a downburst here south of Madison, just north of I-10. Maybe people trying to get off there, but getting into some of the storminess in that vicinity. And that's always hazardous, of course. And then we have Baker County, McClenny area getting the storminess. As we go back over to the Jacksonville radar, you'll be able to get the idea on what's going on there. All the lightning showing up as well. Different reports showing up on the screen here too. So it's kind of interesting to bear those in mind as we go between some of our different modes here still within the Doppler radar. Trying to see exactly what's happening here. You see the storminess down toward Gainesville still. There's so much. I mean, it's hard to just, I can't really just stay on one storm and talk about it. We have to go between every storm here pretty much to try to keep everybody up to date. But I will say if this accident to the north holds together down towards dark, maybe around 6:30 or so, give or take, it could be moving in. The speed from the Weather Service is southeast at 15 miles an hour. So let's go ahead and try this off. So that about an hour, give or take. I'm moving down towards dark, but it may or may be not in the severe type situation there at that point. May not be in a severe type mode. May just be strong storms. It might just be rain. It might fall apart. We'll have to just wait and see. Or other storms could form. It's really complicated, as you can tell here this time of year. So let's go back on over to our broad view of the Doppler radar now, showing you exactly what's happening over there. Showing that look at things as the wind's still nasty toward Gainesville, dangerous down in Alachua County. I'm getting the latest scans on the Doppler here, trying to keep everybody safe. I know it's really important to be able to stick with this here so you guys know what's going on. And it's sometimes it's a situation where during the evening news time, it's just hard to really cover these storms continuously if they're not a tornado warned. But severe thunderstorm warned storms can be just as dangerous in some instances as low-wind tornadoes and low-wind type tornado warnings that you see when you have those spins so up and then that damage reaches the surface. So it's important to talk about all these different warnings that are on the board here, all these different threat areas that we're talking about. It looks like Greater Nelson and 40 knot winds moving into Talbot Island as the storms move southwest back into the coastal areas there and into the coast itself. We're talking about some threat in toward that area according to the Weather Service as well. We'll go ahead and move away from the radars. We just got another warning issued and see the energy values. You see the energy values right along the state line, still a little bit higher. We'll have to see that things come together as we just got a orange polygon show up with this new warning. That's the first one we've had today, and I think since we've changed our system out. So let's focus on this now. This is an enhanced type threat actually here toward southeastern Bradford, east central Alachua, northwestern Putnam, and southwestern Clay. There's a severe thunderstorm located near Melrose now, moving southeast at about 20 miles an hour. So Interlachen, Melrose, Hawthorne, George's Lake, Lake Geneva here, as well as Floraholm, Melrose, Landon, Orange Heights, and Hollister, even Waldo, under the threat for enhanced severe threat here. So let me go ahead and go on over now to velocity mode. The Weather Service is more concerned here. I know the polygon going to switch colors on this, but our other radar, our other system's the one that identifies those when there are considerable threats. When we have that considerable damage threat now here in toward parts again of it looks like southeastern Bradford, east central Alachua, northwestern Putnam, and southwestern Clay. A destructive thunderstorm here located near Melrose. So we're watching this carefully. I know Melrose, as you guys are paying attention here, you just got to be really careful in the general vicinity. As we just had yet another new warning. This is a 60-mile-an-hour warning for areas here of Duval and St. Johns counties. We're watching the potential there for some damage and wind in that area. And just speaking about everything that's going on, I want to try to treat, when we have these destructive type thunderstorms now, I want to make sure we treat those a little more carefully, make sure we cover it more carefully, I should say. So let me go ahead and make sure we retweet that as if this is almost like a tornado warning scenario here. We have that 70-mile-an-hour tag from the Weather Service. So I'm going to go ahead and retweet that from my other account here, my other Twitter account, so people know there is a 70-mile-an-hour wind threat there, Alachua, Bradford, Clay, and Putnam. So just bear with me. That's one good thing about being off camera. We'll be on camera here at times, of course, but sometimes it's easier to be off camera to give you the latest, so we're able to see everything as we're talking. We're able to look at different things. We don't have to necessarily look at the cameras. There is also a flood warning now for parts of Bradford and Alachua till 7:30, so bear that in mind too. Heavy rain in that area causing some issues. We'll try to pop that polygon up here. I know also Clyde_WX on Twitter. You can get the latest alerts there. That's really helpful in these situations. Something to kind of think about as we're looking here. We're looking at the flood threat. Let's take off some of the information real quick, and you see the flood warning that's in play here for areas around Gainesville, Orange Heights, Waldo, and again this goes here to about 7:30 or so. We'll go over to our storm total rainfall, put that up. You see here, as I take that warning off, about 3-4 inches of rain near Orange Heights. So definitely nasty there in that area, causing some issues. And Gainesville, got to be watching out for you guys right on the edge of this polygon here. As that rain continues to fall in that vicinity, going to continue to add to these amounts here in the Gainesville area as we toggle between the different rainfall estimates within our system. And speaking of Gainesville, let's go back on over to the UF WeatherStim camera now. You'll be able to see what's happening over there, and you do see the storm is still on that camera view, looking outside. So just to be careful out there. That evening commute, so treacherous, no doubt. So just gotta be really careful out there. As we go back, going over to the Doppler radar now, seeing all the different warnings still on that, and now looking up toward the north and east, we do have warning for that UNF area now in Duval and St. Johns, as well as Ponte Vedra Beach, Neptune Beach, Sawgrass Bay Meadows, Nocatee, Craig Field, San Pablo, Little Talbot Island, Fort Caroline as well. So watching the threat there as the storms move southwest in that vicinity at 15 miles an hour. And you see that wind enhancement here, folks, right along the coast. That's kind of concerning to see something like that. I gotta watch out maybe for a water spout or something even in there. You never know, but that's an odd movement as the storms have now merged and are going up across Duval County. Rapidly developed. Flooding will become a much larger threat over the next hour because when we're talking about urban areas and a lot of rain, we're going to have problems here, folks. So Got to be really careful around Jacksonville. Got to be really mindful of what's going on there as we go ahead and look back here out toward the west. Yeah, Jacksonville, Gainesville are biggest threat areas at the moment in terms of high population zones. So just got to be cognizant of that here. Got to be paying attention to what's happening. Checking some more sources behind the scenes now. Let me go ahead and make sure we're not missing anything. It's a one-man band, as we always talk about, so got to make sure we're not missing something. Just trying to go ahead and make sure you guys know what's going on here, folks. Again, we had that gust of 54 just a little while ago, and we're just seeing if we're getting any new information in from the Weather Service or any other sources as well. Just want to make sure we're not seeing something here. And just making sure that we're not missing anything here in our different sources. So I know we're repeating ourselves. It's hard to almost talk about this many storms at one time. We're just trying to make sure we keep you up to date, keep you in tune to the very latest. Let me go ahead and go back on over here to velocity. We're looking down toward Alachua County. You see that wind enhancement still. And then again at the coast here, that's really concerning. Right off the coast here, seeing some of that wind. We'll have to see how much of it comes down to the surface. As that gust of 54 earlier set the daily high peak wind gust there at Gainesville Airport. So it's something to take note of there as well. I think we're going to take another quick break in the cover. We'll be back in just a few minutes at 5:45. So stay tuned if you're in one of these yellow polygons. Just really be taking those severe thunderstorm precautions here as we're talking about. Just that when thunder roars, you want to go indoors, seek shelter inside a sturdy building, and make sure you stay away from windows. back here at 5:45, continuing to watch severe thunderstorm warnings all over the place here across north central northeast Florida. The Big Bend even covered in some accent there as well. You see that warning toward Madison County, but there's so much happening here across the area. So much happening overall here. So let's kind of try to break things back down for you guys once again. With everything in play. You see the warning out toward Madison, that does continue until 6 o'clock. Then we have Suwannee, Columbia, also parts of Hamilton County till 6 o'clock. And then even in the ward parts of Nassau, Bradford, Baker, Union, Columbia, Clay, and Duval at 6:15. Now, a really small sliver of Bradford is included right now in that warning. There's actually a small sliver of Bradford in the considerable damage warning there. That goes until about 6 o'clock for southeastern parts of Bradford, east central, Alachua, northwestern Putnam, and southwestern Clay counties. And we have warnings here toward Jacksonville, several of those. And we just had another one issued, folks. Another warning here issued as we're looking toward parts of Flagler, Putnam, and St. Johns counties. That's a 60-mile-an-hour warning. We're talking about Palatka, but now as well as Pomona Park, Hastings, East Palatka, Andalusia, Orange Mills, Barden, San Mateo, and Satsuma. Now I was going to say Baldwin. We have Baldwin covered in another warning, but this is Barden down here. So just so much happening. So many different threats here, folks. We're talking about 6 warnings, 7 warnings, give or take. 8 warnings. You get the idea here as we're looking even further down toward the south. So just a lot happening overall here, folks. Hard to kind of keep up with what's happening, keep up with what's going on. So again, just watching things for you. Looking back down toward Alachua County, you do see some wind enhancement on Hawthorne, so be careful on Hawthorne here, folks. Talking about it looks like 62nd Avenue getting into some of this, so be aware there. It could be pretty nasty. Also looking here as we get over toward Myers Lane, some wind enhancement, maybe some small hail in that vicinity. Again, considerable wind damage possible in that polygon. And then Putnam County, talking about River Drive there, under a warning. You see some wind potential sort of around Palatka. And a warning did say here, East Palatka area, maybe in the most danger from that threat, that risk. See McClenny under a warning. The wind not slowing up quite as much up here, but I do see some enhancement as we get toward northern Duval, where the wind is slowing up pretty substantially. As we're looking here, we'll get in real close actually toward Sheffield Road there. Also getting right toward the coast. We're seeing a little bit of wind enhancement here. Some of this might just be with not actual rain, but you're getting some of that near, it looks like Hickser Drive. So watching out for that. Watching out for some of this in the ward parts of Nassau County. Getting up toward the north here, we do have areas, it looks like, covered around North Ocean Boulevard. Seeing that wind potential there. Seeing all that accent around. So just got to really be on guard here. Watching some of the storms toward Duval County. I see a report earlier from Madison County in the Big Bend there. A train spotter did report a tree was knocked down. So got to kind of bear that in mind. That you can have more of that happening, of course, as we're looking out. Speaking of looking out, let's go to the baseball grounds camera in Jacksonville now, where you see the dark skies in play there. More storms going to be building up in that vicinity as the conditions deteriorate in that area. So got to be cognizant of that here, folks. Watching things carefully around Gainesville, even though there's not a warning there right now. A little surprising there's not a warning, really, because you have some pretty good wind enhancement in that area. And then as you look toward the east, you see the warnings that are in play, though. Again, 8 warnings or so in the area. There's a significant weather advisory for parts of Alachua, looking off towards southeastern Alachua. That goes until 6:30, so that might pop up on here in a moment if I have that checked, which I do. So you should see that here on this mode of the Doppler radar pretty soon. And there it is, actually. There's a significant weather advisory. Gainesville, Micanopy winds to 45, or maybe a little bit higher even in that area. So we'll watch for all of that. We'll watch to see how much more damage, how many power outages we get here across the area as well. And I'll be back by 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock here with more information, folks. So stay with me here from the Weather Center. Meteorologist Casey Cloud back here at the top of the hour, 6 o'clock, still watching so many storms around. We're looking at some different radars here. Let's go over toward our GR Earth computer once again. This will have the latest warnings because things are changing very rapidly here. We know of a considerable damage, severe thunderstorm warning towards Suwannee County. So let's go ahead and focus our attention on that area there, as radar is showing some really high wind speeds there around Dowling Park, in the ward, that area around Dowling Park, folks, or Dowling Park, whatever you want to call it, there in that vicinity. Let's go ahead and go on in there in order to see what we're talking about here. I mean, winds maybe up to 70 miles an hour. Goodness, maybe 75 miles an hour showing up on the radar here in western Suwannee County. So really need to be cognizant of this. Really watching things very carefully there around Dowling Park. So let's go ahead and go back on over toward the radar here. Able to see that we're getting that rain helping to cause that wind reach the surface, in that vicinity. So got to be really careful there because that is the strongest wind signature I think we've seen all day in our area. So a high confidence of wind damage there in western Suwannee County, folks. Got to be really careful. And then as we go over to Jacksonville's radar, report of a gust of 51 miles an hour there in the Mayport area, getting that report just in. So the velocities aren't near as apparent in terms of the damage potential, but still getting some pretty strong winds. We're looking lower down. So sometimes maybe not so quite as well in some ways, but better in other ways, and you're getting a more accurate reading of those winds here down toward the surface. But a 51 mile an hour gust there to Mayport, in the Mayport area, as we just had yet another warning. I keep saying it, but folks, another warning this issued now. This is for parts of Duval and St. John's until 6:45. So getting that damage potential into toward that vicinity and further on down even. So just got to watch out for that and kind of, I guess you could say, getting in between here. But looking down toward the south, you see a new warning that was recently issued for parts of the Gainesville area. It was that storm we were just talking about. We were on here at 5:45, so just got to bear that in mind too. The dangerous winds in this area, and ooh, that might be a circulation trying to develop here, folks. We need to be careful here in southeastern Alachua. I need to check our other radar because that's a spin. Yeah, that might need a tornado warning here, folks. So there's something. That's an odd look. It's really high up in the atmosphere, but I know we switched a little in a weird way. I apologize, but we're kind of in a hurry on that. I want to make sure everybody knows what's going on. But this is near Loch Looe, so we may have a developing tornado here, folks. It's on the edge, so it could just be something else. But since it doesn't match up perfectly, it might be something else. But we're looking up so high, it may not be reading things quite right here, folks. So there could be something on the edge of this. We had these colors kind of come together. That can happen sometimes in this environment, as we just had the latest scan, and not quite as well defined. So that's some good news, but still watching things very carefully here as we're looking toward this area. Maybe at least a wind enhancement down to the surface here. Let's get in real tight. We're talking about southeast 182nd Avenue is where this could be right at this very moment. Just near Island Grove as well there, Island Grove. So seeing something there on the edge of this, I just have to be kind of careful because when you have those greens and reds come together, that's a little something there. I mean, 57 one way, 38 the other way, indicative of something that's not really supposed to be there on our Doppler radar that could be dangerous. So that's the last scan. This scan more cluttered, which would be good in general. But again, got to watch. It wasn't right in the rain there, but there's something trying to happen in that area. You see our marker even showing it up, our circulation marker showing something trying to develop along that. So be interesting to see what ends up coming out of that area, if anything. This is a area that you could almost see a water spout involved. That's possible, honestly. Maybe this is not matching up perfectly, and we actually might have had a water spout here, or may still have a water spout in this area. I don't think that's completely something you can rule out here in this area, and then maybe coming short there or back from being a tornado to a water spout back to a tornado. So something to watch down in towards southeastern Alachua County there within our Doppler radar algorithms. As we go back going over now toward Putnam County, you're seeing a warning in play. Putnam there around Palatka, a new warning here. We were just tracking the action up toward Duval, now eastern Duval and north central St. John's Endo 645, UNF, Ponte Vedra Beach, Neptune Beach, Palm Valley, Sawgrass, as well as Bayard, Craigfield, San Pablo, Little Talbot Island, and Fort Caroline under that threat there. So gotta be cognizant of that potential. And again, we talked about the considerable damage potential out toward the west there. So let me go ahead and switch radars once again here, and we'll go ahead and switch a few things up. So let me go ahead, switch you on over to DR Earth. This will kind of help us out a little bit, so we can switch up some of our other radars here to give you a better perspective on the Suwannee County situation. Watching that carefully here. Watching that down toward and over toward, depending on where you're watching from, Hamilton and Suwannee counties. So again, watching this with the orange polygon is something new now that we're able to do, and eventually it's going to be phased into the warnings as well, and they'll say considerable. And when they have the different tags, they'll go off on your weather. Well, they always go off on your weather radio, but what I mean, they'll go off on your phone as well, because of the danger that storms like those pose. When you have that considerable damage potential, there will be like a tornado warning going off on your phone. So that's something that's being integrated there into the different warning systems. So I just give you that heads up there. But now let's go ahead and pull up GR level 3. You do see the wind there toward parts of Suwannee County. Maybe not quite as apparent as it was, but still pretty strong, pretty dangerous looking there near New Bern. Definitely could be having some wind damage ongoing here. Still getting some severe pixels. I see a 60-mile-an-hour pixel in here, a 57-mile-an-hour pixel. You kind of get the idea here. South of New Bern, north of Lauraville here, in toward western Suwannee County. Still got to be watching out for that. As we get up toward Baker, you see some of the storminess. Looks like report on 3rd Street. Let's say that again. Okay, let me see what we have. So let me get into toward Gainesville. I think we have a report from the 13th Street area now. US 441 there, 535, tree down. So that's a tree down. That's a tree down there at Northwest 13th Street, US 441, 535, reported into the 911 call center. So just getting that information here in toward the weather center. We're watching things as we look down toward that area in southern Alachua. Maybe some rotation there. Just got to watch out for that. Watching the storm off towards Suwannee County as well. But let's get back into this area where we had some rotation towards southeastern Alachua. It's kind of a odd thing that we're seeing within the radar. So it's not 100% rotation, but something's going on there. Something's going on within the radar. We'll go to a different viewpoint of this. You see something with some wind enhancement there near Island Grove. I know we're looking pretty high up, 6,000 feet, but let's see if we have. I know Tampa's going to be even further, but I'm just curious to see what it shows. It may not even, it'll give us something. This is going to be quite a bit higher up, but let's go ahead and go on into this area anyway. I just want to see what it shows. Or to kind of get an idea of what's happening, and you don't see it as well defined. Let's check Moody, because that might be a little closer than Tampa, but it should be a little closer than Tampa. In fact, on the radar, let's get in there. Not seeing too much off of that one. That's good at least, but doesn't mean something might not be happening at the surface. Since on the closer in looks at things, closer down to the surface, we're seeing something way there. So we'll just have to see maybe some type of boundary causing something to occur in that vicinity. As we go back on over, a lot of lightning toward western Suwannee County. You see this a high concentration of that here. That's something you don't like to see. All that lightning there clustered up there. West of Live Oaks, or something I'm going to be watching out for. I'm sure they're hearing in the Live Oak area right now. So they got to be cognizant of that potential. You see that wind on the southern flank. Watching that, you see that. I mean, we're keeping our eyes on things in that vicinity. Still looking back up toward Jacksonville now. Watching things. So many different warnings in play. Let's take off the significant weather advisories. We'll go ahead and count these warnings up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it looks like there's 6 right now. I could be missing something. Getting some different reporting in. More reporting into the weather center. So much happening. Looks like about 5:30, 911 call center reported a tree down to the intersection of Northwest 15th Place and Fort Clark Boulevard there. 5 miles west-northwest of the University of Florida. and Alachua County as well. So getting a lot of those reports in. I think I hear a little rain where I'm at in the historic area trying to pick back up here. So interesting to take note of here as we go ahead and go back one up now. We're looking off of Moody, but you see all that lightning. It's really concentrated right along the beaches of Jacksonville right now. So that's something to be taken into consideration when thunder roars. You want to go indoors, of course. So be mindful of all this action here as it does go on. And we'll be back here by about 6:15 with more information. back here in the Weather Center at 6:15. Still watching the radar. Now we had quite a few more warnings you see here just a few minutes ago, actually. But let's go ahead and go to our current viewpoint on our GR Earth computer. You'll be able to see we've seen some of these drop on off. If you were watching right before we cut in, of course, you saw this as well. We're down to 4. That's better than 9, but still one of those with that considerable damage tag off towards Suwannee County there. So got to be mindful of that. That considerable damage, that destructive severe thunderstorm possible. So just got to be kind of aware of that. So I just got to be careful. I want to be careful using the wording too, because I say destructive or considerable. It's a little confusing to me because it's something new that we're using. So I need to make sure I clarify that when we're doing this. 70 would be considerable on the wind. That's what we're seeing here. And 80 would be considered destructive. It would be almost like a severe thunderstorm emergency. They're not going to use that nomenclature, but it would turn black there on the side. You'd be able to see black and orange. Look at the polygon there. That'd be what we would call destructive thunderstorms. This is just a considerable damage to the thunderstorm warning. So I think I misstated that a moment ago. Misstating that some. So this one to clear that up. This would be a considerable damage to the thunderstorm warning where we have 70-mile-an-hour winds here possible in this area. So watching for that. Watching for that in Suwannee County. And then as we look off toward the east here, you do have Duval County, eastern Duval under a warning still to 6:45, as well as north central St. John's. And then we also have areas here of Putnam, Flagler, and St. John's until 6:30. And an area there from about 7 miles south of UF to 9 miles south of Gainesville under a warning until 6:45 as well. Getting gustier in Mayport a little while ago, 57 miles an hour. Also some damage there near the University of Florida as well in that general vicinity. So seeing some reports also around Noonan's Lake. So just got a new warning though as we talk about seeing some drop off. We just had a new warning issued for southwestern Baker, western Union, central Columbia, and southeastern Hamilton until 7 o'clock. So watching out for that threat there. 60-mile-an-hour winds as well as inch-size hail. This includes Lake City now. So we're going to pay attention there. The severe thunderstorm located in the Suwannee Valley or near White Springs, moving southeast to 20 miles an hour. So we're tracking that potential pretty carefully there. Looking at all these damage reports toward Gainesville, I know they're popping up on our other system. So I'll switch you on over there in a moment so you can actually see a visual on what those look like as they're mapped on out. So that'll be helpful, I'm sure, with everything happening there. Also some power outages mounting in toward that vicinity as well, down toward Alachua County. So another thing that's definitely worth noting, and in fact, here's our visual on the areas here impacted. You see 911 call center reported a tree down at the intersection of Northwest 15th Place and Fort Clark Boulevard. That was at 5:30, 5 miles west-northwest of UF. There, as we're looking toward Gainesville, we had a tree down at the 2643, I guess 2600 block of Northwest 13th Street there at US 441. It was at 5:35, and then 5:30, a report there at 5900 block of East University Avenue, a tree and a power line down there. So getting some issues into toward that area, getting those power outages to mount. And is checking the latest information on poweroutage.us. We'll be able to see what's happening in that general vicinity. As we look here, St. Johns County, about 800 customers in the dark, 78 in Clay, none in Bradford, but over 3,473 to be precise, in Alachua there, 324 in Madison, 403 in McCullough. So you kind of get the idea, just breaking that down for you there, seeing who's in the dark right at that very hour. So definitely impactful there when you're in the dark like that. As we look here at our Doppler radar once again, you see we did have something trying to evolve there in that polygon, maybe some type of spin, not quite as what I find as it enters northeastern Marion County or northern Marion County, I guess you could call it, since Marion does go way over there. So I guess north central Marion would be the better term for that. But again, watching 5 different warnings right now. I see a significant weather advisory just issued, including west central Bradford County. We'll keep our eyes on that. Keep our eyes on everything that's happening, all of that cloud to ground lightning, of course, that heavy rain, those torrential downpours occurring toward your area. still have that nasty weather in towards warning. That's not showing up quite as good on the Jacksonville radar, but Weather Service still warning for 70-mile-an-hour winds in that vicinity. As we look toward Lake City, you see a pretty nasty storm in that area near White Springs. We were just talking about that. Again, the storm's down toward Micanopy, Hawthorne, as well as Reddick there. And then Palatka, some of this to the east of there. Moving down here a little bit more as we're tracking it east at about 25 miles an hour. The axis or Duval County is tracking south at about 20 miles an hour. As the last check, had some wind reports right at the coast. We saved you some of that enhanced wind there a little while ago within our radar echoes, and it doesn't have to necessarily match up perfectly with the radar, but just that general area, seeing some of that wind there. As we continue to watch things, the radar isn't going to be a perfect representation of what you see at ground level. It does a really good job, but not going to be perfect. So have to bear that in mind as well as both the watcher of weather and as a forecaster. So keep that in mind. Keep the eyes here to the sky. Keep your eyes on cloud weather. We'll keep you up to date here with the latest, of course, when we're not on cloudweather.com/radar. Yes, have cloud_WX on Twitter for those instant alerts from the National Weather Service offices in Tallahassee and Jacksonville. I have that there through the Iowa Environmental Mesonet. They have a system there, a service that adds those to your Twitter accounts, and you're able to find out exactly what's going on in these type of circumstances. We'll be back here by about 6:30 or so with more, unless we have something more imminent or more pressing to tell you about. back here in the Weather Center, the bottom of the hour meteorologist Casey Cloud continuing to watch things. We're seeing some storms here that are still severe within our Doppler radar algorithms. You see the wind enhancement here toward Union County now. You've got to be aware here. I might get a new warning extended even further down toward the south and east, but this is moving closer toward Lake Butler now. You see some wind enhancement there as we're getting closer toward, it looks like northwest 117th lane, so watch out for that there in that vicinity. You kind of see some of that enhancement on the radar. This is an area already toward parts of Union and then over toward Bradford County where we've had some wind damage earlier. Northwest County Road 229, County Road 229A there, 5 miles southeast of Rayford at 4:20 or so. We did have a report of a tree down. It just came in toward the Chat Session, but again, some action there moving back into the picture a little bit as we're looking toward Lake Butler. And then as we get over here toward the east, you can see here toward Jacksonville Beach, seeing some rain there. The wind not showing up all that much, so luckily on velocity, so that warning might go away pretty soon. And as we look down toward the coast, you see a little more lightning toward St. Augustine. You see some wind enhancement, but not quite as much toward Marion and Alachua, but there's a little bit more on the southern flank there. We'll just have to keep our eyes on that. And then as you get back going up here, you see Suwannee County. We're a little further away on the radar from that, but kind of keeping an eye on things here very carefully. So seeing just different warnings in play. Looks like we had one of our warnings just go away here. So let me go ahead and back this up. It looks like that warning there till 6:30 did expire for Flagler, St. John's, and Putnam. So we're down to 4 warnings here at this point. So that's some good news, at least 4 warnings here at this point on the screen, on the board, keeping an eye on things here in the Weather Center. You can see as we're getting back toward the coast, toward Jacksonville, not too much. I think the worst storm right now is toward Lake City, toward Lake Butler here, that action that you're seeing within the Doppler radar echoes. And we're going to go ahead and switch radars, in fact, as we look at some of this toward the Moody radars, where we'll take you on the tour now. You'll get an idea of what's going on here in this area. Go ahead and see, and actually the wind doesn't show up all that much on the radar from Moody, so that'd be a good sign, as we might be looking a little closer to the surface in this area. So let me go ahead and show you that now. We'll switch you on over toward our Moody radar, and you're not seeing much at all in this mode, so that's good. But now off toward the west, you're seeing something east of Mayo. On the southern flanks, I might get a new warning here. This would be something where the Tallahassee and Jacksonville office would need to do a kind of a talk here to figure things out. They need to coordinate, because this right here is in the Tallahassee jurisdiction. This right here is in the Jacksonville jurisdiction. I see a significant weather advisory just came out for parts of Columbia and Suwannee, so maybe they just decided to notice kind of a significant weather advisory in play here. So let me go ahead and pop this one up, our significant weather advisories, and you see it looks like the Tallahassee office has had one for parts of Lafayette County. They just issued a thunderstorm warning as I say that, so you never know here, folks. You never know what can happen as we're looking at some different things here. As I see this reports here of some damage here from earlier. Looks like another one coming in from Bradford County, 4 miles northwest of Stark, with the accident earlier. The 911 call center reporting tree down there near the intersection of Northeast 180th Street and Northwest 75th Avenue. So those storms were damaging. I know we knocked us off here right after that time frame for a few minutes around Stark because of that lightning here. One of those strikes just knocked everything kind of offline. We have backups. We were able to get back on really quick, of course, but nonetheless, just interesting for it to do that. Haven't really had that happen here since we've been doing this over the last year and a half, and it just goes to show how electrical things can be and how dangerous lightning can be here in our area. Even though we haven't got all that much rain where we're at, we've only got about 4/100ths of an inch on the rain gauge, so that just kind of tells you that lightning around, getting close at points, striking things nearby can cause issues here. As we go ahead and zoom back on out a little bit, you do see the storminess, our different warnings on the board, our advisories, and now a new warning, not just an advisory, but a warning for parts of Lafayette. As you see that pop up now, that's a warning till it looks like about 7:15. 60-mile-an-hour winds possible in the Mayo area. So let's go ahead and zoom on in here. You see that enhancement right in here. Now Jacksonville's gone with an advisory, I think. Let me double check this. That might be let's see here. We'll zoom out. this might be the advisory that this, okay, that's the advisory that this issued, so they haven't decided on a warning, excuse me, a warning in this area yet. But Tallahassee already went with a warning, so we'll see what Jacksonville does. They'd have to kind of draw something in here to fill in the gap. But again, that looks like maybe some of the strongest action we have around at this point. As we're looking here, just to the east of Mayo, and the road that takes you from Mayo to Branford, and toward part of Lafayette County. So watching out for that, of course, as we go over toward the east now. You can see toward Columbia and Union County, Duval County as well, seeing some of this accent there too. The storms down toward Alachua, toward Marion County, worth noting. Keeping our eyes on all of that. And speaking of just a storm, just take another look outside. We'll go over to the Bradford County Weather Stem Sheriff's Office camera, and you'll be able to see the storms that are in the distance, the storm clouds there. That really tells a story as we're looking out toward the west. So trying to give you some different vantage points here. Looking at some different things on this Tuesday evening. You might have plans, but unfortunately these storms have been disruptive for sure. Looks like checking some different things here. Seeing our different maps. You see the overview. Still that 70-mile-an-hour warning for Port of Suwannee, but seeing different warnings, different situations arise as we look out that way. We'll go ahead and zoom back into this area a little bit so you get a better look at what's happening. And then I'm going to look at some other tools here that we have to see if there's something else we can go to as well. I think we can go to this. Let me see if I can change anything on here. I think this might be good actually to go to at this point. Not seeing as much as we were seeing earlier, but we'll go to our double box mode. We'll pop up our radar here and our camera, our new camera we have here in the Weather Center. We're able to go ahead and look outside, and you can see here we have the severe thunderstorm warnings out toward the west there, and you can kind of get a gauge for what's happening there with the storminess around. So I'm just trying to take a look outside at this point here with all that storminess in view. You see that lightning there on our Doppler. We'll see if there's any lightning that pops up here. We're looking more toward the south a little bit than west, so may not see too much, but seeing a little bit of lightning, hearing a little bit of thunder where we're at right now. So just trying to give you a different perspective of the Doppler radar. As we go back over to the radar itself now, you can see here watching things pretty carefully. We'll go ahead and pop on our other computer, kind of analyze things a little bit more, GR level 3, and you can see some wind moving towards Lake Butler. It's a little more disorganized as we're looking overall, though, which is some good news. But again, we were with you watching through Bradford County and now getting some reports in here. 911 call center talking about tree down there earlier at the intersection of 229, talking about Northwest County Road 229 and County Road 229A, and then a report there of a tree down at the intersection of Northwest 180th Street and Northwest 75th Avenue as well. So just different reports coming on in from the Bradford County area earlier of those storms. Definitely dangerous, definitely causing some issues. As we look at the board right now, we have about 5 warnings here in play. Some of these look more marginal than others. Some of them not too impressive, which is good. Others a little more impressive, though. Just have to go between different radar scans, different radar modes. That area toward Lafayette County, pretty impressive still. As we go back on over, we'll take you back on over to radar scope now. You're able to see what's happening there. 50-55 on the winds, 60 miles an hour there as we're getting right on the road, taking you from Mayo to Branford here in Lafayette County. So you got to be cognizant of that as you're headed out. And you see the torrential downpours occurring on 100 here between Lake Butler and Lake City. Seeing some heavy rain. Now the wind here not showing up as well. That's good news. Not as well defined, but still keeping our eyes on it for sure as we switch you back on over to the Jacksonville radar site. Things on the winds, with the exception of the Lafayette County storm there, don't look all that nasty. That's the good news. I think that's the only storm really that's severe. And now don't not take precautions, as this storm is intensifying some more here. This storm definitely is severe, and don't need a warning, no doubt, for southern parts of Suwannee as we get further on over here. You can see that. That is really well defined, folks. It's getting down to the surface, I think, in this area. It's an odd look on radar in some ways, but That looks like that's getting down to the surface to me. Getting the latest scans here. We're going between some of them. Super Res acts a little behind the base here, and the base is picking up a little bit more with these winds. 63, 60 in there. Now let's try this. 64 miles an hour. So again, this is right near Brantford. So this is your heads up in Brantford. You have some nasty weather moving in to your area. One of the more well-defined signatures in our viewing circle today. Now moving toward Brantford here. You can watch it in motion. This is headed right for Brantford, folks. A well-defined wind signature. Getting that wind probably to reach down to the surface. So nobody needs to be on the road there. As we're looking just around Brantford, just to the west of Brantford, you're getting some pretty nasty weather in that area as we're going under the hood on the Doppler radar within our velocity mode. So again, you're keeping our eyes on that. Let's go ahead and go back on over to the Jacksonville site now, though. You can see here popping things up. Other areas not as impressive. They just dropped this warning for Putnam, Alachua, Marion. That's good news. So we'll go ahead and cross that off for say. That's some good news for sure. They've expired that now. So things look a little bit better overall. We're not as concerned about this. This area is a little bit of a concern. But crossing those two off, generally, it's these two out here. We're watching a little more carefully. And looking toward Lake Butler here. As we're looking out there. And then again toward Brantford, folks. Brantford. Not Bradford, but Brantford here in the Swanee River Valley. You need to be on your toes. You need to be going ahead and being inside and away from windows there. Because you have some really high winds potentially moving in according to our radar echoes. And we got an update here in the chat from earlier of some hail out in the Panhandle. Interesting to see some of those reports come in, but we're looking higher up in this storm, but I think this is pretty accurate. 4,000, 5,000 feet up is pretty good. Good distance overall to be able to get a reading on some of this action. So let me go ahead and pop you back to our overview once again. Just seeing some different things within the radar here, folks. Trying to give you that overview on what's happening. We're down to just the 2 warnings now, which we like to see. Or no, 3 warnings, I guess, because of the one there, Swanee. But you get the idea, folks. 2 areas of storming. There's 2 storms that we're tracking, really, that have those severe characteristics right now. So you have the considerable warning to the north. I think we need a new warning for parts of southern Columbia. I see a report. 911 call center reporting a tree knocked over 520, 3 miles southwest of Hanson in Madison County. So keeping our eyes on all that. Still have some hail off toward Lake Butler. And we're still tracking that action there. I'll see if a new warning is required as this moves southeast at 20. So even if this stuff isn't severe by the time it gets into start, the remnants of this could be here by about 7:30, give or take. So maybe even sooner with some of the rain out ahead, but watching out for that. It just expired a Swanee warning, but we have the action there down to the south. And again, I think we'll have another Swanee warning coming. I would suspect. I mean, that was pretty clear signature within the radar. Maybe they don't think it's right to the surface, but it's just interesting to see that. Nonetheless, there, I think that's a situation where they're just getting a new warning together. Toward the Swanee River Valley. So again, still watching things down to 2 warnings makes things a little bit easier to keep tabs on here versus having 9 warnings on the board like what we had earlier. Something you don't see all that often, but yeah, that storm, that's near that area near Brantford, it is concerning, really concerning. Yeah, there's no doubt this one need a warning again. I mean, I keep emphasizing this. This is moving again right to Brantford, but our last scan of the radar had 66 mile an hour winds near Southeast Creek 405, County Road 354 in here. Some of the strongest wind we've seen all day. This is also getting there near, it looks like as I'm moving my mouse over, pretty rural, which is good, of course. But also have, it looks like Southeast Bombay Road in here. So nasty wind signature will pop up our other modes here. You see that wind pocket, folks. You see that wind pocket within the Doppler radar algorithms. You're kind of keeping our eyes on things. For sure. I know this area reminds me of the hail situation we had a couple years ago. I think it was where we had hail tracking from Georgia. It's not really one of those type scenarios, really, but this reminds me, this is a general area where we had some of that hail last couple of years or so. That was so interesting that accumulated a pretty good bit. But just hitting that type of situation just kind of reminds me of tracking a storm out there as we're looking in this vicinity. But this is about the wind, folks, out toward Branford, 60-mile-an-hour wind or so, showing up on the Doppler, moving into toward the Branford area now. You're technically not under a warning as we're getting toward the Suwannee County part of Branford, but this is a pretty well-defined wind signature, and Tallahassee thinks is potentially producing some wind damage there. So, got to be watching, got to be tracking here. May just be a delay in our system getting that into the Weather Center here to see if new warnings issued for Branford. I know the Weather Service has had so many things going on with the damage reports from earlier, and just having to deal with so many different things. So, I'm sure we'll get some new information in on this here toward Branford over the next little bit, but the radar's showing something here pretty strong. 55 miles an hour on this pixel, 59 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour in this area. So, well-defined signature, no doubt. Seeing even maybe some weak rotation on the edge of this, but not as concerned about that. This other warning goes to 7 for southwestern Baker as well as western Union, central Columbia, and southeastern Hamilton counties. We're watching out for that around Lake Butler, keeping our eyes on things in that vicinity. Definitely watching to see how that kind of transpires, see how it holds together towards Stark. You have a lot of lighting there, so got to be careful with that. Hopefully it'll weaken on down some. Looking at the temperature outside right now, we're in the 70s here. Lower 70s towards Stark, so that hopefully will help preclude from this being too substantial, but we'll have to wait and see, of course. Still have some energy values out here for these storms to take advantage of. Still watching things. I know I lose my voice from time to time, but just trying to keep you up to date here, folks. We'll go over to the broad view, and I might take another break again in the coverage, but you see energy values just towards southern Georgia a little bit higher because they haven't seen the storms up there. Getting some of the atmosphere worked over here, northern Florida, but things are still pretty strong. And looks like Weather Service decided, I'll have to double check this. Yeah, I think this is what they're talking about. Decided to go with a significant weather advisory as we're looking down toward parts of Gilchrist and Suwannee. So that's interesting. Just seeing 50-mile-an-hour winds in this area possible. We'll go back on over toward radar. I know, just seeing some different things here with this, but radar is still showing some winds there that are pretty strong. Weather Service may be thinking that since there hadn't been any damage reports in here, maybe this wind didn't actually reach the surface. You never know in these type of scenarios, I guess, as we're not seeing that upscale growth. So, just something to watch. So, as we're looking toward Branford, and we'll keep you updated here over the next little bit. Again, watching toward the Suwannee River Valley, Lafayette County still under a warning. Watching that wind though move toward Branford, and then a warning out here toward areas around 100 in Columbia County, Union County under this, also parts of Hamilton and Baker as well. We'll be back by 7 o'clock with more information unless we need a break back in sooner. Again, watching things carefully here toward parts of our viewing area. So stick with me here as we continue to keep you up to date. Back here in the weather center at the top of the hour, still watching that severe storm toward parts of Lafayette County. So we're going to stick with this for the next little bit. We had the warning off toward the east, drop one off. So that was some good news at Columbia, Hamilton, Union, and Baker warning. But watching here still for parts of Lafayette County, even out towards Suwannee County, a little bit of this wind action moving into toward areas just east here of that county line that takes you from Lafayette in toward parts of Suwannee County. So we're going to keep watching things here for you. You saw it pretty well defined here within our base velocity mode, and it's moving off toward Hatch Bend. The worst of the wind might actually be near 81st Place A there in the very southern tip of Suwannee County on that very latest radar scan. So we'll continue to watch as we just got a report in. WCJB TV20 Chief Meteorologist Bill Quinlan saying that a viewer reported dime-sized hail in the O'Brien area and Suwannee County. No time given, but we can kind of back this up and see that this is moving through a little bit earlier there, maybe 20, 30 minutes ago. Some of this possibly in that time range. Don't know for sure though, as we're going between the different radars, of course. And we still have strong storms toward Union County, Columbia, but not seeing those severe characteristics in that vicinity at this point. So that's some good news, but still getting quite a bit of lightning, heavy rain in that area. So if we end up going off here, if we don't have active warning, just want to give you a heads up that some of this will be moving towards dark. We'll have to see how well things hold together here with this, but we'll just have some of this action come into view as we go ahead and go over toward the Bradford Sheriff's Office weather stem camera now. We'll pop that on the screen so you guys get a look outside here. You guys see the dark skies that are in play there. Kind of does tell the story for sure. Just kind of keeping our eyes on some different viewpoints here in the weather center. Looking outside, nothing too impressive on the camera we have here, so I won't go to it right now, but I was just looking to see what it was showing, and seeing something pretty similar to this, but not quite as well defined. So we'll kind of keep our eyes on things here as we go between our different sources. Let's go back on over now, though, to the Doppler radar. You see around Lake Butler here, the lightning's still in play, the heavy rain, so be careful on 100. Doesn't take severe weather to still be dangerous out there. Definitely been on that road before when we've had the heavy rain around with that lightning around, so just kind of be cognizant there as it gets a little bit darker here this evening. And then going back out toward Branford, luckily not a lot of lightning with this, and it looks like the wind has come down some in this storm, but still something to watch out for here. And they just went with a significant weather advisory for central Bradford as well as north central Alachua and getting on over toward parts of southwestern Baker and southeastern Columbia, even Union County in there as well, until about 7:45. So watching out for some stronger weather, even if it's not severe. I know down toward Micanopy getting some stronger weather as well as I look down there, but that new significant weather advisory will be popping up on the screen in just a moment. So even if it's not severe weather moving in, some significant weather still possible. Haven't had that much rain where we're at and Stark, so this could end up dumping more rain even if we're off the air when we're not covering severe weather. It could still be kind of nasty out there, so don't think it's an all clear per se from dangerous weather. You see kind of the lightning tickling up a little bit. Seeing 40 lightning strikes in the past 15 minutes here as we get closer towards 17th Avenue Northeast in Union County. So seeing some of that sewing up within our system for sure. Just keeping our eyes on things here as the situation does continue to evolve, and we're seeing a little bit of upscale growth here. Not a lot, but a little bit off the Moody radar. Still watching things here off toward the west. Again, the wind not showing up quite as much here toward the Suwannee River Valley, but that warning does continue for parts of Lafayette County there, Hatch Bend, Grady, and Fletcher Springs, and even the Branford area involved as well. As you see that significant weather advisory now on the screen for parts and much of Union County, really, parts of Bradford, Columbia there. You see some other counties clipped as well, and this is till 7:45. Lake Butler, Rayford, Worthington Springs, Palestine Community, Groves, Providence, Beasley, New River, and Upland Pines here. Watching out for some torrential rain, winds strong enough to knock down some tree limbs, branches, blow stuff around. So just be kind of cognizant of that here in this vicinity. We'll go ahead and zoom back on out once again here, folks. Continuing to watch things, continuing to keep an eye. See a marine warning continuing toward the coast. Seeing different marine warnings pop on up today. Marine warnings, by the way, are these blue polygons here in the coastal waters, if you guys were wondering. Also seeing a strengthening storm toward Flagler. Now, we are looking off the Moody radar, so let me go ahead reset this because we just got a report of P-size sail, US-1, approximately 1 mile north of Palm Coast Parkway, so not sure how significant that storm may be. Not showing up to a large tail level in that area, but something to still watch for sure. I know we've been on here, this stream about 2.5 hours. We were on about an hour before that on another stream before we had that lightning hit and knocked things offline for a couple minutes here. We reset things, got back on about 10 minutes or so later as things pretty nasty around, but not ending up being necessarily that rainy where we were at around Stark, but that could change here pretty soon with the storminess coming in as we look at Jacksonville radar. We look down toward Flagler County, you do see some hail showing up there. A little bit less in terms of those reflectivity values off the Jacksonville radar, as that does a better job. A little bit closer to the surface there, looking from the Jacksonville site. Get back down to southern Alachua, east of Archer there. You kind of get the idea with some of the heavier rain and the lightning in play. Wind there too. The wind values don't show up as much on the Jacksonville radar out toward Branford, so that's good. Different heights, so we're looking, that's further away in Jacksonville than it is on Moody. So something to kind of keep in mind. Staying pretty quiet still in southern Georgia, as the models did indicate. We'll be watching tomorrow for more storms to evolve here across our region. We'll keep you updated on those. We shouldn't have to be on as long for those tomorrow, but still might have to cut in some. No formal update tomorrow morning here again. We'll be back with a formal update on Thursday as we continue to watch the tropics as well. Something we're paying attention to out there for sure. Trying to go ahead and keep an eye on some of the different things that are going on toward the Gulf of Mexico up to see if something evolves. It might become Claudette here because we already had Bill. There, and that's already moving away, as I think we'll go ahead and switch on over to our other system real quick. I haven't really shown this to you today. Since we're on, might as well talk about it as we wait to see what the Weather Service decides to do and see what updates we get. You see Tropical Storm Bill's track in the white there, the T's going to become extra tropical soon and moving on away, so that's some good news here as we're watching that. Not a threat to the U.S. It was off the coast before it became Tropical Storm Bill here as we were looking back in the timeline, but again, moving away, not a threat, so that's some good news for sure. But whatever it evolves in the Gulf of Mexico, as we look down there, the model's not really picking up on it right now, which I guess is a good thing, and that maybe not as well organized as it could be. Gonna have something evolve though and move toward the coast here eventually, so that's something to watch. Real quick from a national standpoint, some flash flooding toward Miami today. Flash flood warning there, residual flooding in the streets in that vicinity. Also getting toward Houston, we have some warnings. In fact, it's a thunderstorm warning for central Harris County now. Keeping their eyes on some of that in that vicinity. We kind of bounced back a little on the radar, seeing what's happened in that area over the last 12 hours or so, and we'll have to watch out for flooding later on, maybe in the timeline there. Speaking of rainfall here in our area today, Union County, 3 inches or so, just to the east of Lulu. Also getting here in parts of Alachua County, 3 inches or so. Kind of get the idea there. Southern McCulloch County, about 3 inches. When we get into these purples, that's 2+ inches in general. When we're talking about the darker purples, and then the reds here, that gets you about 3 inches or so when you get toward those lighter type of red colors. So I'm just kind of breaking down that color scale for you here. We're at 709. 709 on the coverage. Temperatures cool around North Central Florida. That helps some. I have to watch to see if any of these storms can take advantage of warmer temperatures that are kind of mixed on in at times, but cooler temperatures out here, so seems to be that's the thinking that they're not going to extend this. We did have those damaging winds right on the line though, Roy, moving into ward parts of Swanee for a bit, but luckily things not quite as robust out there toward the west. It doesn't look like. But we have a lot of lightning here toward parts of Bradford County. So going to be moving that on in here. I know we won't be on unless it's a severe later on. So let's just go ahead and kind of break it down a little more now, as these are some areas that have already had some damage earlier. One of our lightning indicators here, 6 in the past 5 minutes, 12 in the past 15 minutes. In terms of lightning strikes in a smaller spot here, these different areas, different strikes indicative of that, and then 9 in the past 15 minutes, 22 in the past 30 minutes. So you kind of get the idea. Quite a bit of lightning out here toward Union County. Not severe, but feels like you're getting hammered there. If you're in that storm there in the Lake Butler area, so you have to just kind of be cognizant of that. Speaking of watching that here, I'm going to go ahead and pull up a couple more things. I think we have our Union County weather stem camera, so let me go ahead and pop that up. We have a couple different ones, so I have to actually put that in our system because we haven't been on that one in a while, but I think that would give us a good visual of what's happening out that way right now. So let's go ahead and kind of get that set up. Our Union County Emergency Management Camera that we can use. WeatherStem has that, and that'll be helpful in this type of situation. I'll go ahead and kind of get this rendered on up here. And you can see the dark skies, that rain falling on down there in that vicinity. So definitely something to watch for as we see different hail reports coming into the chat session. Seeing some of that different information be put on in there. So always interesting to take note of for sure. I'm going to go ahead and switch out one of our cameras real quick here that we have in our system so I can put the Union one in here. I try not to keep too many of them in here just to keep things kind of from bogging down here per se. So let me go ahead and get the Union County camera up where they had a lightning strike within a mile of it in the last 10 minutes or so. So let me go ahead and swap this on out. You'll be able to see what I'm talking about here. This is our Union County Emergency Management Weather Stem. It kind of cuts the bottom off, so I apologize about that. But this is giving us an idea of what's going on in this vicinity, showing what things look like outside right now. So again, there's your stormy looking skies. The rain is reaching the surface. I can see that on the full view of that. But looking out again toward Union County there, watching things in that area. So just trying to keep you up to date. As we, I know I hear train in the background where I'm at, so that's always interesting to take note of for sure. If you wait long enough, you'll hear one of those around here, and that means, I guess, that weather right here is not too bad around Stark, but that's about to change here in a few minutes. As we kind of look here off toward the west, you see Lake Butler here with the heavy rain falling around County Road 231. Also getting here toward Bradford County Clay Road. In here also over toward more roads as I kind of move my cursor around here. Some of these again don't show up, so that's why I hesitate. That means more rural in nature. But we have 136th Street in there as well. Quite a bit of lightning there, 100. Got to watch out for that. It's moving toward the bypass here over the next little bit in Bradford County. So something that could be kind of hazardous if you're going pretty fast. That rain and that weather will be kind of hard to see through. So just kind of bear that in mind as well. Maybe not want to go outside right now as things are pretty nasty. Not severe necessarily, but still pretty nasty in nature. You see the wind enhancement here toward Bradford Union. You see the storminess down toward parts of Flagler. Getting quite a few different reports from Madison County. So definitely a dangerous day there earlier. We were covering all of that for you. Talking about all the action toward the Big Bend with that storm. Pretty nasty on the radar with the wind signature at points. Still the one warning that we're staying on for now. 4 parts of the area. But luckily things don't look as robust as they did earlier. Still doesn't mean it's not going to get a little worse in parts of Bradford. Maybe not damaging weather, but that lightning could be damaging. And you have to watch out for the heavy rain as well. You see the storm there has been warning for another minute or so. Haven't seen any updates on this, but should get an update here soon. Still watch to see if any of these other storms become severe. Still watching North Flagler with that hail size, maybe picking up just a little bit in recent scans. Watching out for that here. We'll see if anything becomes severe right at the coast in that vicinity. Looking out toward Union, toward Bradford County. Hail, small hail possible here as we're looking toward New River. You see the storm warning off the board now, off toward the Hats Bend area. That's good. Southern Alachua, northwest of Micanopy. About 1/4 of an inch in size on the hail, possibly, but maybe not even seeing that. It's hard to say exactly what's reaching the surface. But again, things winding down overall, even though it might not seem like it in Bradford because we're going to have some storminess try to work its way in. It is cooler, so maybe this won't hang together too much, but yeah, it's hanging together pretty good around Lake Butler. They're getting a pretty nasty little lightning event, a lightning thunder event around there. So going between some of our different modes of the radar, you see maybe even a little bit of enhancement in the wind there, getting some of that wind down to the surface in that 40-mile-an-hour range, maybe 45-mile-an-hour range there. I'll go back over to our other radar, just making sure we don't get a warning here pretty quick on us. I'd hate to have to come back on here and then do that. It would take a few minutes, and rather just try to stick with you, see if we get a warning for the Stark area or Lake Butler area here in the next few minutes. Now, upscale growth, we're seeing a little bit of that down here near, it looks like the southwest 77th loop area. Nothing really well defined, but there is a little bit of wind enhancement there. So that's something to bear in mind for sure. As we get back on over to other modes, correlation coefficient, nothing standing out in a significant weather advisory there, but just be prepared. It's moving southeast at 20 miles an hour, so that speed gets you in this dark here in pretty short order, maybe 15 minutes or so, give or take. So I don't want to be outside. Doesn't mean if it's not severe, doesn't mean you should be outside. You still need to be inside when you hear that thunder, and I'm hearing thunder on the east side of Stark, so you need to be inside around Stark as well, because that's where that lightning is originating from that I'm hearing here. So just be cognizant of that. You see here the hail size is pretty small, but more about lightning and rain, a little bit of wind in here, possibly as well. Could knock out power if there's some vulnerable lines or quick enhancements of wind on a localized level. So watching out for this. Lake Butler, getting that rain, getting the nasty weather, seeing some wind and rain down toward Micanopy there along 75. Getting an idea of what's happening here. Palm Coast, a pretty nasty storm still around Bunnell. Palm Coast, they got hit hard the last couple of days. Why not get bad weather there again, I guess? But that's just how it is sometimes. As you're looking here at our different mode of the Doppler radar, just watching different things. The dark cloud outside of where we're at as well. So again, just something to kind of bear in mind. We'll go back out again on the view. There's a lot of lightning there out towards Lake Butler, out toward the Brooker area. You're hearing that around. Don't want to be outside around Brooker. Not severe, but still hazardous. This is not a warning situation. You're not seeing necessarily that wind damage we saw earlier, but still lightning can be dangerous, can be deadly. When thunder roars, you want to go indoors. It can damage electrical equipment. Don't think we had any damage here in the weather center earlier, but did knock it. I mean, one of our monitors on a backup, it still knocked it off. We were able to get everything back on here pretty quick, but still, when the monitor goes off from lightning, when you're in a backup, and when your internet, you have issues with that, you know lightning struck pretty close when it just shakes everything and you hear it really loud. So kind of tells a story with that. But again, Lake Butler, just a lot of lightning around there, frequent lightning in that vicinity. Brooker there, occasional frequent lightning, depending on where you're at. I would say it's somewhere in between, but lightning a little more robust around Lake Butler. I'm sure from Brooker you're still hearing some of that in the distance too. But again, watching things. We'll wrap it up if we don't get a warning here soon. Just want to make sure you guys know, cloudweather.com/radar. You can move that map around to see where things are here in the view when we're not on, when things aren't necessarily severe. So a place you can go. See 9 lightning strikes last 15 minutes here as we're looking toward 100, as we're looking toward Northwest 127th Avenue. Seeing some of that in the viewpoint here. Hearing that thunder in the background, maybe kind of pausing for a second, see if you guys can hear that. Some little wind enhancements here. Could be talking about winds in this area. I'll go ahead and put the mouse on here, point out what I'm talking about. Might be talking about winds here enhanced to about 40-45 miles an hour as we're looking just north of 100 and just south of 100, seeing another enhanced area of wind. You kind of get the idea, even down toward Worthington Springs, maybe something on that flank, southern flank. So again, not severe right now, not worthy of necessarily staying on, but just giving you that heads up. We've told you about what could be moving towards dark. If it's not severe, I probably won't have to cut back in or post about it again, but just go ahead and be ready for this storm as it does move in towards dark. If it's severe, we'll break in, of course, be on for you here, as long as we don't have another lightning strike that knocks us off. But we have other backup sources to be able to get on somehow here. But Again, Stark missed out on a lot of the worst of it, despite that lightning coming right by where we're at here, east side of town. We haven't seen that much rain, but I expect those amounts to go up as over the last hour or so. Parts of Union County getting upward to 3 inches. East of Lulu there, northwest 99th place, getting that. You see Lake Butler not as much, but starting to add on up some. We had the storms earlier, so got to bear that in mind too, that we're going to have these amounts really add on up here as we're getting down toward on our digital storm total estimate. Southwest 161st place, already 3.22 inches today. So by the time this gets through, maybe 4 or 5 inches of rain not out of the question here in western Bradford County. So that's a problem. We had some flood alerts in play earlier. I might still have them. We do have a flood warning here for areas of the south. I don't think we have one in the north. Might end up needing one though eventually for this area here as we're tracking things off in western Bradford County. But again, just looking at different things up at the flood warning on a different mode here. It's a little bit harder to see, but you can kind of take note of that here as well as we're watching things with an Doppler radar. Looking for upscale growth here. This is a product I've been using a little more to help sometimes in summer. In terms of echo tops here, let's go ahead and break that down. You see 43,000 feet, 42,000 feet. So pretty high storm top still, and even higher down south of Gainesville. The storminess in Flagler County as well. You see some wind enhancement there. Most of the wind enhancement probably showing up more in the western Bradford, though at this point, not severe, not enough for us to stay on necessarily, but just giving you that heads up as this moves closer towards Stark. So I know sometimes you think he's going off when the storm's moving toward us, but the reason I'm going off is because it's not as dangerous at the moment in terms of the wind characteristics, the wind profiles per se, but we're still having that threat for that lightning, that heavy rain that you can get this time of year. As you see just a lot of that clustered around New River here, 15 in the past 30 minutes, 51 in the past 15 minutes. Wow, 52 there with the update, and that's a lot of lightning, folks, and you do not want to be outside. Some of that cloud to ground lightning in there can be dangerous, of course, can be deadly. Don't need a warning for that. So we're giving you the heads up and start. This is moving right into word Stark here, folks. This dangerous storminess. Let's pop up the Bradford Sheriff's Office camera once again. You see the dark skies here on the view. You're watching those move on in, making for a nasty evening. Hopefully you were able to get home in between the storms as we have some more storminess moving on in. Again, not severe, not enough for us to be on for unless we get a new warning here in the next few minutes. Just kind of stall on because, again, it's easier to stay on and go off and then have to come back because that takes us a few minutes in general to get the stream back. We have to kind of Twitter change things around, so it makes it a little bit different here. I kind of want to see more difficult in some ways, but to try to get back on here on the air when we're in a hurry. We have to hit a couple more, type in a couple more things, hit a couple more buttons, you get the idea. But just a little upscale growth here near New River. This is near, again, that vicinity as we get down to street level mapping. I'll zoom in a little bit tighter now. We're talking about in here roads that really don't slope too well. Again, that's good. That's good news, so we don't have to worry about that. But you see some of that here. Even see a little bit of wind enhancement in there, but nothing really robust, which is good. In general, I wouldn't stay on for something like this. It's just giving you guys the warning the word Stark. We hope this falls apart some with the cooler temperatures, but really seeing a lot of lightning still in place. So moving on into Stark now, it may not fall apart here, folks. Very well may hold together. As you see some of that, maybe a little hail mixed in there, possible. Near New River is definitely a possibility. At least some heavy rain in there for sure. The radar's hitting something out of Jacksonville as we add on to the rainfall totals that we've seen. Watching things carefully here, going between different modes of the Doppler radar. Hearing that thunder kind of pick on up some. We're hearing all that in our vicinity. Again, just watching some different things on the Doppler. Looking down toward Flagler County, things don't look too robust. Just staying on here for you next few minutes. Seeing if anything kind of picks on up. So this one I'm a little quiet right now, but just want to make sure. You see 5 lightning strikes past 5 minutes or so. A lot of that lightning around Lake Bellard that can always cause fires. Unfortunately, hopefully nothing like that happens. But sometimes when lightning strikes stuff, and like earlier when we had a lightning strike without rain, that really causes problems. Now getting this rain, that would help dampen a fire threat maybe with the lightning, but still, just got to keep that in mind. Still some fire danger around in general from that. Looking at different modes still, the Doppler radar, looking at those echo tops again, 43,000 feet. That's pretty high up there, so still kind of potent. Hopefully these will fall apart later on, but still pretty robust, that lightning. Not severe though in nature. That's the good news. If we have another warning, we'll break back in here. If it's towards Darkford or other areas, may just post about it depending on where they're at. If it's rural, like what we saw at the beginning of the day, but if it's more urban areas we're talking about, are more dangerous type looking threats with the wind signatures, with the hail signatures possibly, we'll let you know about it. But for now, thanks so much for trusting me. Let's go ahead and broaden the view out before we wrap things up here again. If we get another warning, I'll break in. I'm kind of still waiting, see if we get anything from the Weather Service that we need to let you know about. Do see some storms there in southern Georgia with those temperatures like they are. We'll have to see if anything kind of comes out of that area. Again, the bigger threat more toward North Florida, but still, sometimes you can get some of those storms to get going in that warmer atmosphere, that warmer environment, I should say. But we don't have a lot of energy values really showing, so hopefully that's a good sign here. Just maybe not enough in the way of overall parameters for the storms to really get going. Not seeing much, if any, lightning up that way, like what we're seeing down toward North Florida. Again, a lot of that lightning, as we just got a aerial flood warning issued for parts of Alachua and Marion now until 9:30. So let's go ahead and zoom down here. Alachua and Marion till 9:30, an aerial flood warning just issued. So let me see what we have on that. That's going to be here as I go ahead and click on over them. Just bear with me here. Checking on the information from the Weather Service chat session. So again, still hearing that thunder rumble in the background. Seeing the latest information. South Central Alachua, Southeastern Marion, or excuse me, South Central Alachua, Northwestern Marion. I beg your pardon. Till 9:30 at 7:26, Doppler radar indicated heavy rain due to the thunderstorms. Floodings ongoing are expected to occur in the areas there as we're looking around Archer and Micanopy. So gotta watch out there with that flood warning now in play, because an additional 1 to 2 inches of rain possible in that vicinity. Still watching things in the Doppler. Still seeing some wind enhancement. Seeing if there's any new information from the Weather Service. Just got another report in of some damage toward McCulloch County, some power outages. That's from earlier in that area. Let me go ahead and put up our flood warning. We should have that in our system here. Let me go ahead and see if we can get that update for us. It hadn't come online quite yet, so let me see if I can go ahead and manually update this here before we go off, so you guys see what we're talking about with that down toward the south, so you guys get that polygon. But well, even if I don't get it, I'll just go ahead and pull the map back up so you can see where the rain's been falling toward Archer, toward Micanopy. Yeah, there you go. In the last hour, 3 inches or so in this vicinity. So you don't even need to see the polygon for that to see where that flood warning would be. So that kind of tells the story, though, folks. So nasty weather in that area. Watching things very carefully there, of course. Watching the rain in Union, might get some type of flood warning here, depending on how things kind of evolve. The latest scans on the Doppler here showing things that kind of a little bit more southerly component, which is kind of interesting. And backing things up here, actually, this is some good news for Stark, maybe, folks. Somehow the storms are trying to avoid Stark. We've seen this really drop to the south a pretty good bit here. You can see the tracks kind of shifting to the south, some meaning maybe the storms here kind of organizing further down. So maybe some good news. We don't get quite as much in Stark, and maybe a little more down toward the 301 corridor between Stark and Hampton. Maybe more down toward the Walmart area versus up toward areas in the northern part of town near the fairgrounds. We'll just have to wait and see. But again, just watching things carefully nonetheless. But that's good news for some of us here as we're watching to seeing how things are kind of shifting more south, south of 100 on the latest scans. So that's something to kind of bear in mind here. You see some of this heavy rain, this lightning in play. We're just kind of scrubbing between because that helps us get an idea of where this is headed, where this accent's headed. I zoom off real quick. You see the Walmart area actually, and you see some of this accent kind of headed in that general vicinity, it looks like, and down there south of this downtown Stark area. But still some rain coming, but that's really good because it's really sifted here. You see the tracks. Just kind of watch how they sift. I know I keep scrubbing back and forth, but you see how the tracks are kind of aimed here towards Stark. Then you see the tracks aim more down to the south, further down to the south, further down. So kind of reevaluating the situation. So I think more on the southern side of town is what we're talking about at this point. So that's some good news. Still could have some flooding though, so be aware of that as we've seen with that flood warning issue down toward the south. But I think it's time to go ahead and wrap things on up here as we watch things in the Weather Center. Thanks so much for tuning in and trusting me. I'm meteorologist Casey Cloud. No new information coming in at this moment, so let's go ahead and leave you with an overview of the area. If we need to break back in later tonight, we will. Or if we need to break back in tomorrow, we will as well. But otherwise, I'll see you Thursday morning here with the latest on the tropics as that moisture will start to increase here more. Once again, toward the weekend, we'll have a kind of a lull in between here later this week, though. But again, we'll be watching to see what becomes of maybe Claudette here in the Gulf of Mexico, as I know Bill already evolving off the coast of North Carolina, moving away. So whatever evolves in the Gulf, if it does evolve, it'll be called Claudette. Thanks so much for tuning in. Have a great night.